Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Armor of Truth Live number 373. Yes, you're reading that title correctly. We're gonna show you how that's very likely the case. Now, you might be skeptical, and we don't blame you. We've been burned too many times, and there are problems, there are caveats, but we're going to talk about this from an objective point of view, right? How is Trump beating globalism? How is some of the things he's doing right now working against the globalist movement? And also, there is another story where Trump is actually, today, it came out today, where they're going to take down the climate change movement. Now, does that sound too good to be true? I know. Trust me, I understand. But we're going to give you that story and much more coming up next on Armor of Truth Live. All right, there you go, folks. Welcome to the show. Let's get over here so you can see your host. Boom, there we are, folks. We have a studio for you again. Somewhat of a studio. It's patched together like MacGyver, but here we are. Here we are. Let me go ahead and welcome. Here we go. To the show, Summer.
Hi, everyone.
There she is. Now, she is not on the road. She is with us, but she's in a different room now. And so we're going to, this is how we're going to make it work for now, to have us both here on the show with you. So you'll be able to hear her. She'll be able to participate in. Also, let's jump over here because I think we're streaming now on a system that we used to use back when we, several years ago, so that you can actually, we're going to have to, hopefully if it works, we'll have the live chat here on the screen. And if you want to support us, if you want to, I could show you what it might look like. If you use the tip link that's in the description, I'll put it in the live chat too. There you go. You can get your name right up there. Right, that's old gamer streams, right? Well, anyway, yeah, so there should be a link right there for you in the description, and I can put that in the live chat for you too. It's the link that says tip link. We'll see it there. Let me go ahead and drop that link in there for you so it. Yeah, so Summer has just put an article up on let me
Substack,
so you can see it here. There you go. There we go. There's the title. Why Trump is, well, this is the one that we put out yesterday. Why Trump is right to shut down Zelensky and prioritize good relations with Putin. I guess I need to make sure that you guys can hear us over here. So we make the case here basically that what Trump is doing, what's different about Trump is that he is, for 40 years, whether it's been Democrats or Republicans, we've had the same kind of president, or really the same kind of politician. Boy, I hope we're live. I have no idea. It's hard to tell.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
Yep.
So we'll just dive on this now. We'll start here with this article. And as I said, now Summer hit me with this one. There's the live chat. And there it is on the screen. There we go. Yeah, so of course we are going head to head right now. Summer, you remember right now, 9 p.m. The president is
Yeah.
he's giving the State of the Union. Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
You can watch the president on replay. How about that? So Slumdog 20
Armor of
bucks.
Truth. Armor of Truth is much more pressing.
Yeah. Yeah, John Connor's like, I got to hear this. Right. See, I understand. There are going to be plenty of people skeptical about what we're saying here. Now, let's just make the case. Let's just go ahead and make the case. I'll start right here. Let's start with this, since this has been the big story over since last Friday anyway. There we go. We might see some freezing and stuff like that. We've really got this computer running up to the edge of its capability. So Friday, Volodymyr Zelensky comes to the U.S. because he's in the middle of a war, so he can just travel and do whatever he likes. Anyway, Friday, Zelensky throws a fit and refuses to sign the minerals deal at the White House. Saturday and Sunday, he is in Europe. Specifically, he goes to London to beg for money from not just Keir Starmer, but all of Europe, the European Union. And if you remember, the Sunday morning news shows were, Europe is backing him. They're behind him. Keir Starmer came out and said, look, all of the UK is behind. And then they go out and they interview people who actually live there. And they're like, no, we're not really supporting this war. So this is what I mean when I say there is a type of politician, there's a type of parasite known as a neocon, a neoconservative. And they're Democrats, they're Republicans, but they're war hawks. They profit off of war. They love war. The dialectic that they use to change the world into the form they want it is war. We'll get to that in just a minute. And this is how Trump is different. You might not like him, but he's definitely not a neocon. So Zelensky, gets a lot of promises made to him Saturday and Sunday, and then they sort of back away from it. Monday, yesterday, Trump says that if Zelensky does not come to the table ready for peace, then he's not going to be around very long. Hours later, Trump cuts off all weapons sales, aid, funding, stockpiles, etc. to Ukraine. No more military aid to Ukraine until Zelensky is committed to a ceasefire and a peace deal. Friends, I have to tell you, whatever you think about Donald Trump, and look, we're not MAGA people over here. We're just trying to call it like we see it. That is a real position on peace. That is a real position. That is the right position. I mean, that is the right position to take. We're not going to continue feeding you billions of dollars and weapons if you're not interested in peace. There is no sense in funding endless killing. Okay, well, that happened Monday. And then today, right, Trump cuts off all the aid. And today, Zelensky, as predicted, now he's ready. He's ready to commit to a peace deal. First thing Tuesday morning, you just witnessed the art of the deal playing out in real time. Trump is holding all the cards, and he forced Zelensky to submit. Now, there is a maxim, a truism, if you will, about negotiations, and typically it's whoever walks away from the negotiating table the easiest. Whoever is able to just walk away the easiest is usually the one who's going to win the negotiation. And basically that's what happened Friday. Trump's holding all the cards. He forced Zelensky to submit. Zelensky was trying to play games and keep this war going. Clearly, someone had convinced him that was the right tack to take. He was listening to Chuck Schumer, some of these progressives, some of these crypto communists that we have. He was listening to those folks. Trump dropped the hammer on him. Essentially told Zelensky, you either work with me on stopping the war or we're going to let Putin kill you. I mean, that's really basically, because we're not going to support this war. Let's listen.
Everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It can be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long because I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else. Everybody has to get into a room,
That's awful,
so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be...
It's pretty soft on my end here. I'm not sure if that was... Guys in the live chat, if you're able to hear that clip, let me know. We're still working through some of the kinks here. If you're able to hear that, it might have been very soft, but if you're able to hear that from Trump there, let us know there in the live chat. I just want to... Slumdog says he's still trying to donate, because of Streamlabs. Of course, there's always something wrong, right? It's like, okay, cool. Thanks for that. True Normal TV. Yeah, that volume was really... I think that was just the audio on that particular clip. Slumdog, I'll work on that. You'll see that there's some of the links will be coming up here in the live chat. You'll be able to see it. It's the link. It says it's the tip link. Look, I'm just going to have to drop it in there right quick. Let me open up this article that we're about to share anyway. But first of all, here's a tweet from Thomas Massey. This comes from last week. Thomas Massey basically says, he was talking about how a lot of Republicans were wanting to use corn. We're still on this whole idea. You know, there's a lot of Republicans that are still signed on to this, not signed on, but they're committed to the Green New Deal, and that's because they've seen that it could be profitable for them. So they want to use corn to make fuel. Well, there's no sense in that. We have all the hydrocarbons that we need, you know. I mean, do you realize that oil is really it's a blessing from the Lord, because it is the most efficient, portable, compact form of energy that we have on the planet, and it is renewable. Don't let these people fool you into thinking that we're going to run out of oil. The whole peak oil idea was a scam also. You know, if you're selling a product, you certainly want people to think that there's not much of that product to go around. You don't want people to think that it's completely renewable and the earth is always making it. We've done shows about this before where we've shown you how it doesn't take millions of years. Thomas Massey, anyway, says using corn to make fuel increases the price of food, and this is not disputed. But some Republicans are insisting on keeping costly ethanol provisions of the Democrat Green New Deal. The Communist Green New Deal. Let's just call it what it is. They want to keep it in the Republic Budget Reconciliation Plan. So, there's that. We'll come back to these. We'll come back to these in a bit. But here's yesterday's article. Let me get the chat down there. It's supposed to be under that. There we go. Why Trump is right to shut down Zelensky and prioritize good relations with Putin. The truth about Trump, Zelensky, and World War III. The other article that we're going to come back with after this one is the one that Summer just posted this afternoon, which is really where the argument for how Trump is actually, or at least the tariffs. Let's just start with the tariffs And then we'll get to the fact that he's got Lee Zeldin, his EPA head, working on exposing. And Summer, can you summarize that again? How you just told it to me a moment ago? I've got the article right here. I don't need to keep everybody in suspense. I'm gonna just share it right here. Yeah, here you go. Trump to tear up the Holy Grail regulation that will free up trillions in taxpayer cash, but couldn't. Now, this is one that's really going to freak the progressives out. The Trump administration may soon do away with a major scientific finding. First of all, let's just stop right there. No. That carbon dioxide is somehow causing climate change. It's somehow that it's gonna kill us all. No, that's not science. That is pseudoscience. But anyway, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin is lobbying for the White House to strike down the, quote, endangerment finding, a 2009 scientific conclusion. Again, right. You have to be careful who you're reading because these are assumptions. Right. This is not science. This is scientism. The endangerment finding found that gases leading to global warming pose a threat to public health and welfare. That's the key. Because if you can show that, if you can lie well enough and make it seem like one of these gases, carbon dioxide specifically here, is what they're talking about, is a threat to public health and welfare, then you can do whatever you want, right? This is how Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov Lenin, this is what he was doing. The same idea. There is a video on our channel called, you'll see the thumbnail, it says The Climate Cult, and we used Brian Sussman's book. Brian Sussman, by the way, is a meteorologist, and he's written this book. He's done a good job of showing how all of the climate change movement has its origins in Marxism. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole right now because that'll take a little time, but you can find it here. We go through it in detail. The finding has served as the justification. Now, the finding that they're talking about here is carbon dioxide. Served as the justification for government regulations limiting the emissions of greenhouse gases since the Obama presidency. Of course. According to 3 anonymous sources who spoke with the Washington Post, Zeldin has recommended that President Trump repeal the endangerment finding, clearing the way for the undoing of countless climate regulations now in place throughout America. Yeah, they're going to really fight this one hard, but that's good news. When we say that he's beating globalism, that's where you do it. You have to start right there. That's good news. I understand that Elon Musk is a technocrat. I understand that J.D. Vance is aligned with technocrats. I get it. I know all this. But you can't just ignore that. That is a big deal. Let's see. Biden's Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, in 2022, nearly $400 billion over the next decade was ticketed for slashing carbon emissions, right? So this, again, the whole idea of the carbon tax was to basically, was to break us all, was to slow down, well, degrowth. This is a concept we call is called degrowth. And what that basically means is for developed nations like the United States, they want to implement policies that will make it extremely hard for you to do business, extremely hard for you to travel, to live your life. And so that's going to restrict you. They're called austerity measures. A Agenda 21, the plan, the plan for the 21st century, which was started really in earnest in 1972, a little before that too, with the Limits to Growth paper. The whole idea there is to move us back, to move our energy consumption back to pre-1985 levels. Now, we have almost twice as many people on the planet today as we did back then. So what that would mean was that would mean that we would be, it would be almost like going back to horse and buggy. But so this is good news that we'll come back to this later, but we just wanted to show you that's real too. It's a thing that's out there. And let's jump into this one now. So what is the argument here? Because I want to make sure I get to the one that Summer just put up today about the tariffs. So there's two big points today. There is this one where the carbon dioxide as a deadly gas that's going to, the net zero, the idea that we have to stop, we have to, where are my notes here? I can tell you, I can just break it down for you very easily. Every net zero myth refuted, Alex Epstein. Here's the myth. They say we face catastrophic increases in dangerous wildfires, right? The earth is going to be on fire. So every time there's a fire, a regular fire, they report it as it's caused by climate change, right? Another myth is science says science. No. The IPCC, right? This is an agency of the United Nations who they are the gatekeepers of science, of scientism. And they have been wrong. They've been caught lying many times. But they say that if we hit 2 degrees Celsius warming, let alone beyond since the 1800s, if whatever the average was in the 1800s, and if we hit that 2 degrees Celsius mark, then we will face catastrophe followed by an apocalypse. It's funny because they just reported to us a few months ago that we had already hit that 1.5 degrees Celsius mark. So it's that last 0.5% that's really going to do it. The truth is, the 2 degrees Celsius number is activist fiction. There's no truth to this. The climate mastery abilities that have made life far better through the 1 degree Celsius warming so far will continue to keep us safe. Continuing fossil fuel use will lead to levels of warming and other changes that we can master. Very minuscule levels of warming, but we can master these things. We can flourish. The idea is, in Alex Epstein's book, we don't need to use less fossil fuels. We need to use more. All right. Back to the article. Now let's get going here. Keep losing my place. All right, so let me make this argument for you right quick so we can get over there to the tariffs, because we've got the climate change, the CO2 point, and we've got these tariffs that Summers just posted for us. These are two ways that we can point to you right now, three actually, because of World War III, the threat of World War III, three ways that we can show you that, we're surprised by it too, but we can show you how Trump is actually working against the globalists. Now, I know a lot of people say, no, he is a globalist. That's fine. Just make your argument. Show us what you mean by that. Put it in the comments. Send us an email at hello@armoroftruth.net. Tell us how you see him as a globalist. I'm serious. I'm willing to be corrected if you can show me, because it seems to me that everything he's doing right now is more of a nationalist. He's more of a nationalist kind of president. So, and what we're fighting now are the globalists or the internationalists. Hate Trump if you must. Label me a shill for MAGA if it makes you feel better. But this is my opinion as I see and discern the facts before me today. Right now, Donald Trump is actually correcting decades of neocon warmongering. Right now, Trump is bringing the rogue European Union and the Davos elites to heel. And he is the only world leader right now in a position who is in the position to do it and who is capable of preventing World War III. Because be clear about this, the European Union, for some reason, they want the war. They want that war between Ukraine and Russia. They want it to continue. And that's because, as I said earlier, these are the same old dinosaurs that we've had for the past 40 or 50 years. Warmongers. The dialectic they use to change the world is war. So this was a video by Warren Smith that I used. I watched this, and then I wrote what I'm sharing with you here. Maybe we can watch a minute or two here.
The more I do a deep dive into this whole game is more crazy than I could have ever comprehended.
And then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy.
The least bad option seems to be on the table. And yet we have in his own words, he's not interested.
А ви зараз говорите про ceasefire. Just ceasefire. Maybe give flour.
Pay attention to what Zelensky's saying here, because what he's doing, it's not in his best interest to keep this war going. Because every day he's losing more and more of his citizens. They're having to bring in people from around the world to come in and fight for them. They're going around and rounding up young men off the street to throw them out on the front lines as cannon fodder. If this man was seriously the president of Ukraine, if he was seriously trying to take care of his country and his people, he would get to peace as quickly as possible. He would get to the negotiating table and he would do it. But for some reason he's not, and that the reason is because he is bought and paid for by that same kind that has been ruling the roost for the past 40 or 50 years. Those people who we call the globalists, those people who have been pushing, we call them the New World Order, right? That's what we call them, the ones who've been trying to bring it about.
Was to Putin, maybe to say, thank you so much for these years. That was a great part of my life. No.
Why is it not worth trying? And then if he breaks it, we'll cross that bridge. It's not worse than the present moment. What is the alternative?
It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because
What would those guarantees be? America can never guarantee involvement in a war with Russia. It's just, let me make it clear that Russia is 1.7 times larger than the United States. Yes, on paper we have a superior army, military power. But if war were to break out between America and Russia, it wouldn't matter, because this wouldn't be fought by armies. This would be fought by weapons I don't think you fully can comprehend.
That's what we're trying to say here. The reason that what Trump is doing is so important is because if it was to pop off, if Europe was to engage militarily with Russia, I forget what article it is, but there's an article in NATO's constitution, their founding document of NATO, that if one European soldier is killed, then the Americans have to join this war. You can't not join it. So they want it, and they want to drag us into it. And Trump is right now doing everything he can to prevent that from happening. And that's the right thing to do.
Can I
Yeah, go
can I
ahead.
just interject too?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, certainly if you look at this might be a good time to bring out the Deagle report because, those of us have been following that for decades now, over a decade now. I mean, with everything that's happening right now and the attack that would happen, in war, how it would go down possibly, that could be a Deagle result.
Yeah,
The drastic population,
Right.
the decrease that we see in 2025. I mean, if the war was to pop off, those numbers that the Deagle report predicts seem quite likely, right?
Yeah, I don't have with I'm limited to what I can get here. I can't pull the Deagle info up right now.
Oh,
But
I could drop it in for you if you want. I mean,
well,
we don't
just
have to go down that path.
just the numbers,
but
right? The population of, for instance, the United States would be decreased by what? How much?
I think like 78%.
Yeah. And really the only way that could happen, there would be two ways that we could be that kind of a population decrease could happen. And it would really be a result of either a grid down scenario where within a year 90% of population would be gone, would be dead, or nuclear. It would be some kind of a nuclear conflict, nuclear war. That would do it too. Did you drop that link?
I'm about to.
Let me listen to some more about Warren here.
Larger than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima.
Oops.
It can be fought by armies. This would be fought by weapons I don't think you fully can comprehend. They have weapons that are 3,000 times larger than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. It would be over.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future.
No ocean is going to stop war with Russia. This won't be fought by a navy. This will be bombs. And I understand why he's making that argument, because it's in his best interest. He has to try and make the world feel like this is absolutely necessary for us to back them, or Russia will seek world domination.
Що ви кажете, є ризик, що президент Трамп вийде із НАТО, наприклад. Це рішення Сполучених Штатів. Я просто говорю, якщо вийде, Путін знищить Європу. Порахуйте, яка в Європі армія.
So there is the claim. The claim that he's making to bring us into it, to make us feel like we have to support him. We have to keep giving him money and military aid. In fact, he wants us to bring our soldiers. He wants our sons and daughters over there on the front lines in that meat grinder. And how does he do it?
I found the stats for you.
He does it by threatening us, saying that, well, Putin will come into Europe. I'll get to it in a second. I need to hit this clip right here because this is the big point. Is Putin interested in World War III?
Okay, we do have Tucker Carlson sit down with Putin, and I know many people don't like Tucker Carlson.
The argument, I know you know this, is that, well, he invaded Ukraine. He has territorial aims across the continent, and you're saying unequivocally you don't.
It is absolutely out of the question. You just don't have to be any kind of analyst. It goes against common sense to get involved in some kind of a global war. And a global war will bring all humanity to the brink of destruction. It's obvious.
The stakes could not be higher. What is Trump's motivation?
All right, so that's where we'll hold. So I'm hold that link, and I'm when I come through this piece right here, then I'll be ready for the Deagle right here.
Right.
Okay, so Putin's not a good guy. Nobody's sitting here trying to make a case for Vladimir Putin being a hero. There's too much black and white thinking. If you look at the nuance and you try to understand what's really at stake, and you try to read what's happening, this is good and this is, if you try to do that today, it's kind of like in our movement, our peers online. If you don't just come out, if you don't come on here and say that, well, no, Trump he is the new world order. If you don't come on here and just speak against Trump then this whole movement that we're part of, they'll reject you. They'll start calling you a shill because you're not supposed to say those kinds of things. You're supposed to take this line. No, Putin's not a good guy. This is true, okay? But he has been clear from the start, as you just heard, that he doesn't want war with Europe. It's crazy. It's suicide. So why is Europe provoking war with Russia anyway? And again, because for the last 40 years, European and American neocons, these war hawks from both parties, have controlled NATO, and they've been brewing their big idea, right? As George H.W. Bush declared it, their big idea, their 1,000 points of light, their new world order.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
So I say we must clean the house of white America of racism. Americans who are in the white majority should be proud to stand up and be heard denouncing the sort of racist rhetoric we heard on that tape, so loudly and clearly denouncing it that our black fellow citizens can hear us. White racism may be black people's burden, but it's white people's problem. We must clean our house.
It's weird. I don't know why that was included on that clip with Bush there. But anyway, what is that new world order? Well, it was, for the longest time, what George H.W. Bush was trying to help bring about. And peace, the rule of law. Well, what we see Europe doing today, what we see Zelensky trying to do, that's part of that movement. To bring about this new order of global control, they've engaged in fomenting conflict, order out of chaos, right? They're the ones who create the chaos, justifying their actions as spreading democracy to oppress third world dictatorships throughout the world. The American government, specifically the intelligence agencies established in the wake of two world wars, first the OSS, then the CIA, with their secret agents, their economic hitmen, infiltrated, corrupted, and replaced third world regimes for half a century, knowing very well that the people of these lands would not thrive under an imposed form of American democracy. That's the biggest joke of the whole spreading democracy movement. You can't force people into democracy when they've lived under dictatorship or some form of monarchy, because American representative democracy can only thrive where the people believe there is an authority higher than the state, an authority higher than the church, higher than the king. That level of liberty requires the people to first be submitted to the sovereignty, to the supreme authority of God and His Word law. So for decades, the actual uniparty, a lot of people call the Trump and Vance and this group, they're the uniparty, right? Because Tulsi Gabbard has come in and Elon Musk is Republicans and Democrats. The actual uniparty has been in power for 40 years, right? Left wing, right wing, same damn bird. We've heard that, right? We've heard that before. Well, that uniparty has created chaos through destabilization, decades of covert regime change operations, 9/11, the Patriot Act, the nuking of habeas corpus, the global war on terror, so on and so forth. They are committed to creating conditions for war all over the planet because war is the dialectic neocons use to shape the world. Donald Trump is the only president this century who is actively, and as far as I can tell, truly committed to peace, truly committed to preventing world war. And I would say that's top priority. He's interested in preserving the interests of the United States first. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not unchristian. In fact, the Bible's very clear. Starting at the level of a man and his household. If you don't care for the people you're responsible for, if you don't take care of your family first, you're worse than an unbeliever, says the Bible. We talked about that here too. We talked about that when Joe Biden was flooding in migrants, right? Saying that we should take care of these people. We should set aside all our responsibilities and take care of these people who are coming in. No, that's upside down. That's an anti-Christian principle. You're supposed to take care of your family first, your own people first. And the same goes for a leader. The same goes for a president. You prioritize your own nation first. Trump is the only one that's doing that. He's the only one who has been committed to restoring America's position as a global superpower or preserving it. Now, I put this, what I'm reading to you, out in a community post on our channel the other day. And this is one of the responses that we got from one of our viewers, or someone who read the community post, who said, "Really, man? Trump is no different. All presidents have been controlled opposition. History is clear. We the people never had control, nor will we ever." Okay, well, the response, and I would encourage you to consider this. Stop and think about that for a second. Did you consider the possibility that your own position is controlled opposition? Think about it for just a minute. By taking on the position that all presidents are controlled opposition, the idea that there is no point in voting, there is no point in getting involved at all because it's a lost cause. That's very popular today. I mean, as far as, in this group that you guys watching this and us that we're familiar with, our peers, that's a very popular position, to just not get involved, to stay out of it, because if you go vote, you're authorizing their debauchery, or somehow you're in league with Satan. I think that's controlled opposition. Assuming you're an American citizen, this is my response to that comment. Who told you that your liberty is an illusion? Who convinced you to believe that we, the people, have no influence or power? What history are you referring to where Americans have never had control or a voice? Freedom is defended locally. Normally the people who say you shouldn't vote, you shouldn't be involved, you shouldn't get involved in government at all, are usually people who are only watching the circus, the national politics. But freedom is defended locally by citizens who believe in the biblical principle of self-governance and the principle of subsidiarity, right? You should be ruled, the people, your government should be very close to you. You shouldn't be ruled by people who are thousands of miles away. You should have, local government should take priority. And that's how America is designed. So usually people who tell you shouldn't get involved, it's because they don't have any idea what's happening in their own town, right? How many members of your city council can you name? Which policies of sustainable development, for example, have been implemented in your hometown in the last 20 years? How many times in the last year have you bothered to attend your city council meeting? Are you aware of anything that's happening in your local government? As you're telling everybody, everyone's a shill, all the presidents are fake and false, and because all it took to trigger the one who left this comment for us, right here, Trump is no different. It's all control. Look, here, history is clear. We the people have never had control, nor will we ever. Well, all it took to trigger this person, all it took for this person to rebuke me was for me to ask him to look closer, which is all I'm asking you to do. Summer, she's brought forward this information about the tariffs. I won't speak for her. She can tell you her own what she's asking of you herself, because I understand a lot of people who might be hearing to say this, it might be a little unusual, but I'm just asking you to consider the evidence that's right in front of you right now. I'm not asking you to consider what the most black-pilled YouTuber or blogger is saying, whoever's got the hottest take today. What is happening? Let's see. Either God is sovereign or he has been rendered impotent by Skull and Bones. Which do you think it is? Who's more powerful, Skull and Bones or the living God? So I'll challenge you once more. Scoff and reject me if you like. It's okay. We're used to it. But who really benefits if a significant number of Americans were to agree with you and to abdicate their responsibility to defend the freedoms that God has allowed us? Who benefits if we just opt out? The establishment that once existed, known as the Western hegemony, that had such ubiquitous power and control over the world, the ones that built up our nuclear arsenal, they're floundering right now. They're flopping. They're falling. And they're worried. Remember when Vance was over at the Munich Security Council a couple weeks ago and was telling the European Union, we're allies unless you're going to start censoring your citizens, unless you're going to start how to say it? Mitigating your democracy, right? They say they have democracy, but they don't. So if you're not going to hold your citizens, the well-being of your citizens supreme, then we don't have shared values. Then we're not allies. But this movement, this hegemony, this what we've called the New World Order rising for many, many years now, it's failing. It's weak. It's coming apart. And those people who are committed to it still, they're desperately willing to do anything to keep alive their dream of a multipolar globalist utopia. That 1,000 points of light, that New World Order that Bush inaugurated. I'm trying to tell you that there's a good chance that that particular movement is ending. Something new is forming. Now, whatever it is, I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it better? Is it worse? I don't know at this point. But wisdom demands that we evaluate the actual evidence before us and that we consider the possibility that all our sure predictions about the direction of the New World Order 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or even 1 year ago, we have to be willing to reconsider or consider that we might have been wrong or it might have failed. Something else is happening. I don't know if it's good or bad, but we have to call it like we see it. The responsible posture right now is to be careful, to make careful daily observations, to weigh the facts. Eventually, the direction of this movement, the direction of the U.S. and the world will become more clear. But for the foreseeable future, truly, almost anything could happen at this point. Again, I want to make it clear, folks, this is not about MAGA. This is not about loving Trump. We've been programmed to think in black and white terms. This is not about that we're blind to the game of the elite. If you think we're blind and we don't know what's going on behind the scenes or we don't know how to read the world events, you haven't been watching us for very long at all. You haven't been paying much attention to us. But these people that everyone is so eager to talk about, these globalists, they're not omniscient, they're not omnipresent, and they don't always agree with one another. Veteran and patriot Bill Stebbins said this. This is he put this out, an open letter to the sheepdogs of America. Right? Those who are just following orders. That's the indefensible safe space of the morally emasculated. Evil thrives when sheepdogs cower. A recurring historical tragedy. when those who should be the sheepdogs of society, local sheriffs, police, military, too frequently sacrifice their morality upon the altar of the state. They drop to their knees before petty tyrants and turn their weapons on their own people. Those who should be society's sheepdogs degenerate into mangy hyenas, subduing and terrorizing the very people they've sworn to serve. So, I want to tell you this too. The presence of Trump as a disruptor right now is real. It's something that's happening. The global chessboard has fundamentally changed just in a matter of months. Nothing is as it was a year ago or even 6 months ago. Is that a good thing? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll reserve judgment on that for now. But I will say, praise God for the reprieve that we've got now, even if it's a brief one. All right? Encourage you to check out this article and go there and listen to the rest of Warren Smith's take on this thing. He says, he titled it, he said this was the most important 10-minute video of our time. So I encourage you to go check it out because the stakes are extremely high, just as Summer was pointing out a moment ago. Okay, so let's talk about that Deagle now.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to jump over to where the links are and go about midway down.
I'm going to also try to find
article.
my Deagle info here. I think I might be able to pull it
Well,
up.
I've linked it in the article.
Okay.
So you will be able to find it. And plus I have a graph in there that does give the percentages. So actually the United States, it would be a 68% reduction. I said 78%. I didn't remember that correctly, but United Kingdom would be 77% reduction.
Oh, wow.
Ireland would be 72% reduction. United States would be 68.5% reduction. Germany would be a 65% reduction.
Is it under where you said I can hear the audio? Cool. Is that the link?
Yeah, that's
it's
the link.
it's our article.
Yeah,
I also
it's in
saw
there.
where you told me to keep my head out of the middle of the screen. So yeah.
Yeah, you keep going into the center.
Yeah, I'm hiding behind this thing here. Yeah, we'll get it right eventually here. All right, so let me copy that link. By the way, folks, Armor of Truth Live, number 279, Destroyer of Worlds, Deagle and the Nuclear Threat. Maybe we could pop that link in the description or into the live chat. Maybe we did a really, it was a really interesting deep dive. We watched the film Oppenheimer, and then we did some research on Oppenheimer and the Deagle report and shared that in one show. So check that out. That's where you're going to get the more detail on the Deagle report. We went through the Deagle report with a fine-tooth comb. All right. So let's see. I'll put it right here.
So yeah, if you want to scroll down.
There we go. That's not the one. Oh yeah, it is. That's us. I keep forgetting. Yeah. So we had already written an article about this, hadn't we?
Yeah, I did recently. I put it in when this came out about
Deagle. Yeah.
Gaza. So if you go about halfway down, you'll see the Deagle chart.
All right.
And then you can click through.
Gulf of America. There you go. There's the Deagle chart. Let's go full screen on this. All right. So there's Deagle for you, folks. This is a forecast. Now, let me make sure everybody can see this. See, I can't quite get that to line up.
Yeah. And then there's also a graph that's right under that one that gives you the percentage of the population drop. And when you click on that image below, it will go to, you can toggle and do the statistics.
Okay.
Just however way you want to.
So again, this is mainly Western civilized countries, what we call developed nations, who would lose their populations. And I'll share just a little bit of, a little bit of detail. The threat of nuclear war is the highest it has been in 40 years. Nations around the world have stockpiled nearly 14,000 nuclear weapons, and it seems that none are eager to sign any kind of comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty to avoid an international crisis, especially Europeans. So this we were reading about an article here about a new Australia-United States nuclear submarine agreement that was forged in 2021, which set up many dangerous scenarios, one of which being a major nuclear conflict with China, right? Makes that far more likely to occur. It's a very aggressive move on the part of the U.S. military. Now, this is, and its commander-in-chief, which was Joe Biden at the time. These subs will all carry nuclear missiles capable of targeted destruction of cities. These are tactical nukes, and nuclear torpedoes for the destruction of other subs and entire naval fleets. That raises a question. What does placing tactical nuclear weapons off the Chinese coast have to do with upholding human rights? What does that have to do with keeping navigational passages free? What does it have to do with spreading democracy? Spreading democracy is the biggest lie of the 20th century. Do we need nuclear weapons to secure fishing rights? This is what they do. These people that have been in power for 40 years. This is not who Trump is. He might do other things, but he doesn't do this. These moves are happening all the time, but the public in Australia and the U.S. are completely oblivious to it because there are many more important things to focus on, like jabs, drag queens, trans rights, and all this. Why do people say they hate war, but then they're so easily convinced to back the military intrigue of corrupt officials? Here's a quote by a former Nazi officer and propaganda expert, Hermann Göring, which he made during the Nuremberg trials in 1946. He said, naturally, the common people don't want war, neither in Russia, nor in England, nor in America, nor for that matter in Germany. This is understood. But the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That's easy. All you have to do is tell them they're being attacked, and then denounce those who don't want war. Call them, say they're not patriotic enough, say they're putting our country at risk, they're a threat to democracy. Works the same way in any country. So definitely check out Armor of Truth Live number 279. You can hear, we went into great detail. Give Summer a lot of credit here for that too, because this was another one of those ideas of hers that we took off with, and it turned out to be a pretty good.
Yeah, if you want to scroll down just a little bit further.
People have had a chance to look at these numbers, right? So you can see that.
Well, yeah,
we're in 2025 now. If maybe you'd forgotten, and these predictions were made. Do we know what year these were made in? These were made
over a decade ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Go down one more. Just scroll down.
Okay.
There it is. So that gives the
degrowth movement. Oh, you're behind me, aren't you? Are you talking about this?
Yeah, I am. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
No, you were right. That was it right there. It was the population drop. It just gave the statistics on 77.1%.
Yeah. Oh, I can make that a little larger. Leon.
Yeah. And if you want, you can click on that and it will go to the live chart that you can toggle the figures. So I dropped that in the chat for you guys if you want to get on there and take a look at it.
Okay. All right, where do I go on this? Okay, this will tell you who Deagle is. Deagle Corporation is a minor branch of U.S. military intelligence. You'll hear this as a conspiracy theory that it didn't exist. I don't know. It could be a psyop. It could be a real deal. We'll just say that. But it was one of the many secretive organizations which collects data for high-level decision-making purposes and prepares confidential briefing documents for agencies like the NSA, the UN, the World Bank. It is known, for example, to have contributed to a Stratfor report on North Korea. With this kind of pedigree, Deagle should be seen as a legitimate player in the intelligence community and not merely a disinformation asset. If so, then it must be assumed that its population predictions for 2025, again, we're there, as well as its industrial output predictions on a nation-by-nation basis are based on strategic assumptions which are shared and well understood by other players in the community. And it links to the article I was just sharing with you there too, that Metallic Man article. It's a good one. He said, I think the Deagle 2025 forecast figures are based on an assumption or perhaps knowledge that there is a storm coming. The confluence of genocide, manufactured chaos, and anticipated earth changes. Folks, this is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm going to be careful, Summer, not to speak for you. You can speak for yourself here, because I know that I'm speaking. It sounds like that I'm really supporting Trump. I'm not really supporting Trump. I'm just telling you what I see him doing and not doing. I see him not doing this. I see him not playing a role in manufactured chaos. I see him not playing a role in genocide. I see him trying to go the other direction from that. So, is there anything else on this that we need to look at that's of note? Here's a map.
No, I don't believe so.
Well,
I mean, well, it's just on there is just, if you wanted to look, if you wanted to, it just has a chart where you can toggle the figures how you want. Yeah, right there.
Wow.
So you could just like decide to do different searches.
Somehow or
another. Oh boy.
It's doing something weird. It won't let me scroll. Wow.
It's trigger happy. Maybe your browser is outdated.
What is that? What are the Toronto protocols? What is this website? I like it. What is this web? We got to check this website out. Okay. Let's let me scroll now.
Anyway, we've probably spent too much time on it.
But that's fine.
Just suffice it to say that if World War III broke out, obviously, that would wipe out quite a bit of the population.
And that's the point. That's the point I want to make, is because I just think it's important to point out, whatever you think about Trump, he's very clearly interested in keeping us out of any kind of scenario that could lead to World War III. He doesn't want Americans involved in that meat grinder over there. Summer, if you'll summarize this piece here, then I'll go ahead and I'll work through it, and then you can comment on it as you like. So this Trump's tariffs serve as an effective countermeasure against the globalist agenda. How so?
Well, I just became curious. I became curious that, about, can Trump's tariffs serve as an effective countermeasure against the globalist agenda? So like looking at what we know about Canada and Mexico and their role as a compliant node in the globalist system. So just looking at our neighbors to our north and our south, I got curious about how the tariff thing would play out as far as throwing in a wrench into the globalist plans, Agenda 21. So that's the starting point from which this article begins. And it makes the argument that ultimately the tariffs can be seen as an economic barrier against the encroaching influence of technocratic governance, which seeks to subjugate national economies under a centralized globalist framework. So Trump's tariffs on Canada and Mexico can be seen as a strategic countermeasure against the globalist Agenda 21 plans, which seek to erode national sovereignty. So if you want to just start going through some of those points, that would be great, Brad.
All right. I want to make sure people can get to that link. Let me make sure it's in the description right quick for our
it is
our donate. I'm talking about
it's in there.
I'm talking about the donation link, so that if people want to donate live, and Slumdog was saying they're just having trouble with it. Let me just make sure I've got that. This might be one of those descriptions where we don't have that particular tip link. Yeah. You give me just a second here to grab that link so it can be easily reached, because if somebody wants to donate live, and if you donate live, you can make a comment, and we'll read that comment. I just want to make sure that we're tipping.
Yeah, because we've talked about the president of Mexico before.
Yeah.
That she's got this really radical leftist background, and that goes all the way back. I mean, way back since she was a youngster, and her first husband, and going to Stanford and her going and doing research at Berkeley and then being photographed on the cover of a Stanford newspaper, the Stanford Daily, I guess it's what it's called. And we can take a look at that in the article. So just showing how Mexico has been captured. We've covered the capture of South Africa. We're showing you here in this article about the capture of Mexico. Obviously, we know that Canada has been captured by the Davos Club. And so, thinking about that is really key, and thinking, okay, well, what is this? Obviously, yeah, a lot of people have been taking advantage of how we do business with the United States. Like, the United States has been funding a lot of the apparatus to build the enslavement system around us. And so if we were to cut the cord, in other words, and try to break some of these ways in which they're extracting the wealth out of the country to enslave the whole planet, not just to enslave America, but to enslave the whole planet, what might that look like? So that's the exploration in which this article takes.
All right. I found our link, by the way. I'll have it pop up every 3 minutes. Okay, there we go. That'll make it easier. And let me just, you guys in the live chat. I tested it earlier today. It should work. I'm Slumdog is having trouble with it, but here's the live donation link. Once we get it going, it'll be easy. There it is. It's the Streamlabs. This is the old Plaster of Paris one link. It's there if you guys want to donate and get your name in lights. Okay, so can Trump's tariffs serve as an effective countermeasure against the globalist agenda? So first of all, let's recap for you what we've learned so far. So far, we know that Lee Zeldin, Trump's EPA head right now, is apparently trying to get rid of this endangerment provision, endangerment clause, whatever it was that during the Obama administration that determined that CO2 was an existential threat. Right? This is why we have to reduce carbon, right? Because of this joke, because of this lie. Now, so apparently Trump administration is interested in removing that. They're interested in taking that out of the narrative, that CO2 is not an existential threat. Cow farts are not going to kill us. Now you can imagine people like Bill Gates are going to be hating this. They're going to fight this hard. So that's one thing. And that's huge. That's one of the first places where you would have to go to destroy this globalist movement, this communist movement. That's what it is. Secondly, Trump is, without a doubt, trying to prevent World War III, and he's the only world leader who's in position and capable to do it. Now, also, there's this piece that Summer has provided here today. Exploring the exercise of economic warfare, this is what Trump is engaging in, and these tactics are mitigating or maybe even crippling a little bit the globalists' ability to do what they do. Trump's tariffs on Canada and Mexico can be seen as a strategic countermeasure against the globalist Agenda 21 plans. Remember, it's Agenda 21. I've never been comfortable calling it Agenda 2030 and all. These just seems like distractions. That's the plan. Because if you want to go read about it from the beginning, that's the document you have to read. We don't have it here. We have it in our office, but we can show you this Agenda 21 book. Anyway, that plan seeks to erode national sovereignty. That's first and foremost. Through economic interdependence, environmental regulations, and technocratic control. All right, so this is what Summer just summarized for you. Trump's 25% across-the-board tariffs on Canada and Mexico are in effect now. Trump decided to not delay it anymore. Canada retaliated, big deal, with a package of tariffs of its own, $107 billion of U.S. products, some immediate. Mexico's president said it would announce retaliatory tariffs beginning on Sunday. We'll see how that works out. Again, as Trump said to Zelensky, they don't really have the cards. This is why I'm taking this position here, because we have someone leading the nation right now who knows who we are. He knows what the nation, he knows what America means in the world. I believe that he loves the country. I think he loves America. I think he wants to preserve it. I think he wants to make it great again. Sorry, I think he does. Trump's decision to impose 25% tariffs on Mexican imports was officially justified by concerns over illegal immigration, drug trafficking, particularly fentanyl, and trade imbalances. Why shouldn't we do this? This is responsible behavior. You're supposed to care for your own house first, or you're worse than an unbeliever. The administration aimed to pressure Mexico into taking more stringent actions to curb these issues, thereby enhancing U.S. national security and encouraging domestic manufacturing by making foreign goods more expensive. Now, it's true that these tariffs at first would affect Americans. Some prices would be higher. It would hurt initially, but this is something that's going to pay off down the line. And it's more likely, what's more likely is that this is a negotiating tactic. That he's really looking to make a deal with these folks. He's really trying to find out something, to do something that will be much better even in the long run. And we've seen how he does this, right? How he's dealt with Zelensky, how he's dealt with the Europeans. Okay. One can speculate that Trump's broader trade policies reflect a resistance to globalist ideologies. One could. This suggests that the tariffs could be seen as a stance against policies perceived as aligning with global collectivism. This is also known as socialism or totalitarianism, communism, that aim to reassert national sovereignty and protect domestic industries. This is a good thing. There is biblical precedent for that. Now, of course, as Summer said, Mexico is captured by the Davos elites. Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, this is the new Mexican president, born in 1962, into a secular Jewish family. Her paternal Ashkenazi grandparents immigrated from Lithuania to Mexico in the 1920s, while her maternal Sephardic grandparents, that's a type of, that's a Jewish heritage, a Jewish bloodline, Sephardic. They fled Sofia, Bulgaria in the 1940s to escape the Holocaust. She grew up celebrating major Jewish holidays at her grandparents' homes. A scientist by profession, Sheinbaum earned a doctorate in energy engineering from the National Autonomous University of Mexico. She also authored over 100 articles and 2 books on energy, environment, and sustainable development. There you go. She contributed to the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now that, my friends, this is the IPCC. They are the gatekeeper on climate science. And our position here has always been, we're not trying to tell you that the scientists are just getting everything wrong. What we're telling you is that this body here, the International Panel on Climate Change, the gatekeeper, what we're telling you is the way they report on scientific findings is broken. Just a quick example. These average global temperatures that they like to tout all the time. We don't really have technology. The technology doesn't exist. It's really not possible at this point to get a really accurate global average temperature. Again, this book by Brian Sussman does an excellent job at explaining why you can't really get a really accurate global average temperature to come up with some kind of number like 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius, and then catastrophes will happen. So that number and all the science around it, so-called science, scientism, comes through this group. This is where the problem is, the IPCC. All right. She contributed to the IPCC, and she was included in the BBC's 100 Women list in 2018. She's also published more than 20 scientific articles on energy efficiency, contributing to the 2007 IPCC report. All right, there you go. And the same year, won a Nobel Peace Prize. How? Why? Because she towed the line. Because she supported the narrative. Because she supported the gatekeepers. All right, Sam, you want to explain this this article?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the article there, that's from when she was a PhD candidate when she was in school in her early years, and she moved briefly to California, where she did research at the University of California, Berkeley. While there, her husband, who is actually the event organizer of this event that you're looking at right here, and he was a radical leftist, so a communist,
Surprise.
a radical leftist. And it's funny because it says fair trade and democracy now. I just thought that was interesting because that came up while researching all of this. But so her ex-husband, they met at Stanford when he was at Stanford and she was at Berkeley. And so he went on to become somebody who was, I believe, mayor of one of the areas in Mexico City. He served as in one of the boroughs of Mexico City, and so he was a social activist and protest organizer. So again, it's just here it is, like part of her journey. You can click on that link and go and check out some of the research and articles it's sourced there.
Okay.
So it's painting this picture. You can move on to the next section.
All right. So she's actually on the front page here of this article.
Yeah, that's her with the sign.
Yeah, fair trade.
That's her with the sign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Future president of Mexico. All right.
She's holding that fair trade and democracy now. That is her.
All right.
That's her in the picture in 1991.
Beyond her
And
academic,
that's
even beyond her academic credentials, Sheinbaum, the current president of Mexico, has actively pushed globalist and leftist policies. In 2021, she removed a statue of Christopher Columbus from Mexico City's Paseo de la Reforma as part of a decolonization initiative aligning with broader Marxist historical revisionism.
Sound familiar?
Yeah, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Wretched of the Earth. It's right there beside you.
Yeah, Frantz Fanon.
Yeah, Frantz Fanon. Yeah, that's we spent a lot of 2024 learning and sharing that information with you. During her tenure as Mexico City's leader, Sheinbaum has championed LGBT policies, including implementing a gender-neutral uniform policy in state-run schools in 2019. Now you can see again, all of this is in stark opposition to everything that the Trump administration has done so far. Allowing students to dress according to their chosen gender identity. In other words, to lie, whatever. A step aligned with progressive social engineering agendas. On June 2nd, 2024, Sheinbaum made history, becoming Mexico's first female and first Jewish president, further cementing the country's shift toward leftist globalist policies. Remember, some of this is a good point, an interesting point about Mexico also is Leon Trotsky and his girlfriend or lover or whatever she was, his paramour. Remember Larry Taunton was explaining how they found safe haven in Mexico. in Mexico
Mm-hmm.
City when the Soviet Union fell, and they even have a museum down there with that honors Trotsky, and I can't remember her name. It's an important name in Marxism, history of Marxism. But anyway, just to give you an idea, Mexico has been very open and welcoming to Marxists. Claudia Scheinbaum's academic and political background reflects a deep alignment with globalist, socialist, and Marxist ideologies. From her UN-backed climate advocacy to her decolonization efforts, her policies mirror the broader communist globalist agenda that seeks to redefine national identity, erase historical roots, and impose progressive social doctrines. Her pro-LGBT stance, climate activism, and historical revisionism are hallmarks of the global left's push to reshape societies through ideological subversion, demoralization, destabilization, crisis, and normalization. Now, as president, she is set to continue transforming Mexico under the framework of globalist, socialist, technocrat tyranny. All right. And
okay, so the next section is we start to bring it all together with Canada.
You've got here this article. This is one you put together last summer specifically about her
Yeah.
too. More details about her.
Yeah, there's nothing really there now to look at. It's just a reference back to when she came into power. We wrote that right before she came into power.
All right. So again, folks, this is what, by putting these big tariffs on Mexico, he is certainly throwing a monkey wrench in the works in the Marxist works. So Trump's tariffs on Canada, particularly the tariffs on steel and aluminum under Section 232, were publicly justified as a measure to protect United States national security and domestic industries. However, when viewed through the lens of global collectivism and technocratic control, a deeper strategic rationale emerges. Justin Trudeau is a graduate of the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders Program and is a staunch advocate of the United Nations 2030 Agenda and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. His administration has consistently pushed policies aligned with the globalist agenda, including, but not limited to, climate mandates that restrict industry through carbon taxes and green energy transitions. Again, folks, carbon taxes are meant to break you, to take all your money, to stop production of goods, to stop business, it's meant to bring down developed nations. Because when they cry equity and equality, they don't mean that we should bring up the struggling nations, the developing nations, to the level of developed nations. They mean they should bring particularly the United States down to the level of developed nations. That's how a multipolar world order can be established. Censorship laws under the guise of online safety to control narratives, Trudeau has been responsible for. COVID-era authoritarian measures, including travel bans and jab mandates. He's pushed for digital IDs and central bank digital currencies. Now, we understand that there's a part of Trump's policies that it's possible for digital IDs to become some part of our reality at some point. But he has also signed an executive order banning central bank digital currencies. So there's that too. Make of that what you will. But all of these add up to technocratic social control. Now, what about Trump's tariffs as economic warfare against globalist control? Trump's tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum can be speculated as a countermeasure against Canada's role as a compliant node in the globalist system. So right there's the whole thesis for today's show. If
That's
Canada,
right.
Yeah, if Canada was being used as a conduit for technocratic supply chain controls, such as carbon-regulated trade and globalist manufacturing dependencies, the tariffs may have served to undermine the World Economic Forum aligned economic influence, Canada's deep entrenchment in the WEF and the UN sustainability mandates, meant its industries were becoming vassals of the global economic restructuring rather than free market participants. Tariffs would limit the economic independence that globalists use to erode national sovereignty. Yeah, so you're greatly limiting
the effect that they're able to have beyond their own borders. Right? Secondly, Trump's tariffs may serve to disrupt the green transition chokehold by hitting Canada's aluminum and steel industries. The tariffs could be a preemptive strike against environmental, social, governance-driven supply chain control, which, of course, the purpose of all that was to limit Western business, Western manufacturing, to bring us
through
down.
degrowth.
Right? Yeah, through climate regulation, definitely through degrowth. All right, and these tariffs could have worked to expose Canada's compromised sovereignty. Trudeau's Canada operates less like a sovereign nation and more like a managerial state within a globalist system. The tariffs forced Canada to either negotiate in their national interest or expose its allegiance to supranational governance bodies like the United Nations and the WEF. Now, that's a huge point right there. So by putting the people who live in Canada should be thanking Donald Trump for this now, because what this actually does is it greatly limits and slows down their march into the globalist system, the citizens, by forcing Trudeau to negotiate for the national interest of Canada. So that's I think that's probably one of the most important points that might fly right over the top of people's heads. He's forcing Trudeau to act like a nationalist. All right, so these tariffs are also a check on...
Exactly. You see the irony of that, you know?
Yeah.
But they can't admit it. They can't admit it. All they can do is sit around and say, you know, that he's a threat to world stability, you know, and world peace.
Yeah. So the broader context of these tariffs suggests that they're also a strategic move against the globalist technocratic agenda. Canada, under Trudeau's leadership, has willingly surrendered its economic and governance policies to global collectivist institutions, again, like the WEF, positioning itself as a tool for the Great Reset. By imposing these tariffs, Trump's tariffs would reduce U.S. economic entanglement with a captured globalist state, would force Canada to reassess its alignment with World Economic Forum policies, and would reinforce United States manufacturing independence against the globalist push for controlled supply chains. Ultimately, the tariffs can be seen as an economic barrier against the encroaching influence of technocratic governance, which seeks to subjugate all of us, national economies, under a centralized globalist framework. Yeah, that's really the summary and the takeaway. His tariffs on Canada and Mexico can be seen as a strategic countermeasure against Agenda 21. A countermeasure against this collectivist movement to tear down the United States. Disrupting the global supply chain. Let's see, by imposing these trade barriers on key industries like steel, aluminum, and manufacturing, Trump disrupts the global supply chain mechanisms that organizations like the UN, WEF, and World Trade Organization use to enforce climate mandates, carbon restrictions, and trade dependencies under the guise of sustainability. So you can see that the tariffs these tariffs would affect us negatively at first until we would be able to rebuild our own manufacturing capability. See, one of the main problems here is I think a lot of people miss is that when you enact or you enforce these tariffs, it does cause some strain on your own people for a while. But the reason it causes a strain is because for the last 40 years we've had psychopaths running our nation. And they've torn us down bit by bit, like boiling the frog. Have you noticed? All of our manufacturing is now done in India or wherever, China, Mexico. And so it would take a little time for us to rebuild our manufacturing capacity. But once we did, we could be stronger than ever. We could be a little isolated bubble of freedom, of liberty, of justice for all in maybe an otherwise globalist, collectivist, communist world. The tariffs force these collectivists, these globalists, nations to reassess their economic reliance on global trade structures. And they also would reinforce American industrial independence, as I just said. So all of this is really a direct challenge to the Agenda 21 blueprint for economic centralization and the managed decline of Western industry. That's degrowth. And if you're familiar with The Green Mask, Rosa Corey's book, The Green Mask, and anyone who's written about this for a long time, you understand that Agenda 21 is an operation, is a policy structure, framework, that is really implemented at the local level. It really takes place in your local government. It takes place right around you every day. So what the tariffs would ultimately do is it would force communities, regions, to reestablish their manufacturing capacity, to focus on taking care of their own people rather than trying to write for grants and get big funding from the UN and sustainability non-governmental organizations. So this would force even those people who might be on board with all that, it would force them, like he forced Trudeau, to defend his he forced Trudeau to act like a nationalist. He took him forced him out of his globalist shoes for a moment. Anyway, it's not a complete dismantling of Agenda 21 because that would have to be done by us. Ultimately, Trump is setting the stage to make it easier for us at the local level to just push this stuff out altogether. Because it doesn't matter what Trump does if we just continue walking along, asleep, paying no attention to what's happening at our own city hall. The tariffs are a roadblock to the globalist agenda, providing that national economies can resist the forces of supranational control. That is a good find, my dear. That is good stuff. Anything else you want to say about this one? That's good.
No.
That's a good piece there. That's very interesting. I hadn't, it hadn't occurred to me. How?
Yeah, I just got curious about that, so I wanted to do a little bit of a digging around.
Yeah, this is.
And I find it very interesting too.
Yeah, this is a really good one. I think this is one we need to make sure that we get shared around as much as possible. And folks, if you're watching this and you have access to the Armor of Truth mobile app, you can go there and read this article. And otherwise, please share this video. I'm sure Summer's got the link in the description already to this article.
I do.
Before the article that I read for you earlier is, that's really my what did I do? Oh, that's a different thing. Yeah. So the article I shared with you earlier, right there, about how Trump is really not a neocon. He's not a warmonger. That he's really working against what those for the last 40 years the New World Order has been trying to establish. That's one thing. But this is more important right here. If you want to share anything with someone today, share this piece here, because this is one of the best arguments and presentations for why what Trump is up to is can be seen as ultimately good for us, good for Americans anyway. If it's good for Americans, it's good for the world. Right? Can I get a witness from the balcony, from the back section? Anybody?
Bueller.
Bueller. Anyone?
Bueller.
Remember when we did Armor of Truth 279, Destroyer of Worlds? You had that comment. You can lift the stone without being ready for the snake that's revealed. That was about creating the nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Proverbs 4:4-7. Then he instructed me and said to me, let your heart hold fast my words, keep my commandments alive, acquire wisdom, acquire understanding. Do not forget and do not turn away from the sayings of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you, her being wisdom and understanding. Love her, and she will guard you. The beginning of wisdom is acquire wisdom, and with all your acquiring, acquire understanding. Proverbs 1:7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of Proverbs 9:10. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Do you think this is an important point in the Bible? Psalm 111. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all those who do his commandments. His praise endures forever. James, the brother of Jesus, tells us that knowledge, that wisdom, true wisdom is from above. Who among you is wise and understanding? Let him show by his good conduct his works in the gentleness of wisdom. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not be arrogant and so lie against the truth. This wisdom is not coming down from above, but is earthly, natural, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there is disorder in every evil practice. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruits, without doubting, without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. How about that? James chapter 3, verse 18. The wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, then considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruits, without doubting, without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. So what position is Trump in today? He's maybe less like King Solomon, less like King David, more like King Cyrus, for example. Perhaps. I do believe he's advocating for our best interest in a lot of ways. 1 Corinthians 2. Yet we do speak wisdom among those who are mature, a wisdom, however, not of this age, nor of the rulers of this age, who are being abolished, but we speak God's wisdom in a mystery, the wisdom which has been hidden, which God predestined before the ages to our glory, which none of the rulers of this age has understood. For if they had understood it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. But just as it is written, things which eye has not seen and ear has not heard, and which have not entered the heart of man, all that God has prepared for those who love him. That's the reward. But to us, God revealed them through the Spirit. For the Spirit searches all things, even the depths of God. So I think it's important, folks, that when we think about these topics, it's really easy to fall into the trap of pessimism. It's real easy to fall into, to forget who is actually in control. I think sometimes people, even a lot of Christians out here in this, on this platform, sometimes forget that God is sovereign, God's in control, that the devil is God's devil. In other words, he can't do anything other than what God would allow him to do. And so in doing that and losing that focus, we end up rejecting the gospel. Because the first element of the gospel is God's sovereignty, his omniscience, his omnipresence, his goodness, his mercy, his grace. If we forget that, then we forget the leading edge of the gospel. In Romans 10, you read about Israel's present rejection of God. Their refusal to submit to the righteousness of God. In other words, they felt like they'll just figure it out for themselves. They'll determine. A lot like the modern nation of Israel today. Many people have decided they'll determine for themselves what that is and what it stands for. Those who stand on the law of Moses as their righteousness must keep that law to utter perfection. But Christ has come, the Messiah lives, and righteousness is by faith alone, the gift of God, so that no man may boast about his birthright or his ethnicity. God is no respecter of persons, personas, masks, nationality, ethnicity, wealth, or denomination. This is a section really about the rejection of the gospel by Israel, and it's a warning to us to not fall into that trap too. Well, I think we've probably come to.
I think that's probably a big enough download.
Let's finish up with the greatest chapter of the Bible. Let's finish up with Romans 8 for a little bit of encouragement here as we walk out of this show today. We know the worldview that we're up against today. The argument that we must be prepared to counter with wisdom supplied by a transcendent creator, the sustainer of the universe. Romans 8, I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that is to be revealed to us. For the anxious longing of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it. That's the Lord. The Lord is the one who brought the curse. In hope that the creation itself also will be set free from its slavery to corruption into the freedom of the glory of the children of God. So the creation is fallen. We're fallen. All the creatures are fallen. The creation is fallen. But all of that will be restored. So the future hope, the future reward is not to be some spirit being floating around somewhere. It's to be on this earth remade in perfection. In perfected, glorified bodies. No sickness, no death, no sin. Now that's something good to contemplate. For if we know that the whole creation groans and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now, and not only this, but also we ourselves having the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, eagerly waiting for our adoptions as sons. So when you hear the creation groaning and we are groaning, it's not despair. We're not groaning in despair. We're eagerly groaning. That's what the text says. Eagerly awaiting for our adoption as sons, the redemption of our body. For in hope we were saved, but hope that is seen is not hope. For who hopes for what he already sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, with perseverance we eagerly wait for it. And in the same way, the Spirit also helps our weakness. For when we don't know how to pray, what to pray, as we should, the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. And he who searches the hearts knows what the mind of the Spirit is, because he intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. Romans 8:28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Because those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to become conformed to the image of his Son, so that he would be the firstborn among many brothers. And those whom he predestined, he also called. Those whom he called, he also justified. And those whom he justified, he glorified. What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who indeed did not spare his own Son, but delivered him over for us all, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? Who will bring a charge against God's elect? God is the one who justifies. Who is the one who condemns? Christ Jesus is he who died. Yes, rather, who was raised, who is at the right hand of God, who also intercedes for us, who will separate us from the love of Christ? Will affliction or turmoil or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are being put to death all day long. We were counted as sheep for the slaughter. But in all these things we overwhelmingly conquer through him who loved us. For I'm convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing will be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. That's the good news, my friends. And I think that's what's definitely most important. Summer, do you want to say, are you still with me? Or did you sign off already? Do you want to say?
I'm here.
Okay, just tell the folks if you got anything to say to them. Just a goodbye or something you want them to check out.
Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being with us and for sticking with us. And we could definitely use your prayers as we navigate the situation with our studio.
Yeah, it's been
our
tough.
Studio came under attack, and we are trying to work out getting that situation sorted out with the owner of the building. So if you could just say a prayer for us, that would be awesome. And
yeah, it would be great if a specific prayer right now would be that they would just be willing to pay for the damage that they caused, so that we could get our office and our studio restored back. We can't work in there now because if you spend more than 10 or 15 minutes in there, you get sick, you get a headache, it's a bad deal. And the right thing is, for them we don't want to take them to court. We're Christians, and some of those people are Christians, and we believe what the Bible says. We don't want to take Christians to court. We just want to give them the opportunity to do the right thing and restore what they allowed to be damaged, to put our workspace back so that we can work there without getting sick in it. Just make it like it was. And that's all we're looking for. And we just justice. That's all we're looking for. Just justice on this. And we love to do this work, and we love our studio and our office, and we'd love to be able to have it back. But if the Lord sees fit to have us not have it, then we'll follow faithfully wherever he leads us, because he's been good to us all along. And we really appreciate those of you who support us. And if you can, download the Arm Tooth mobile app. It's free. It always will be. And if you can support us, follow the Give tab in that app, or you can go to armoroftruth.net/donate, or you can follow the links to the description in this video, under this video, to support us financially. But as Summer just said, more important than anything else, we could definitely use your prayers right now. And speaking of prayers, if you have a prayer request, this is something we would like to get back into. We used to do this a lot more, but we can do it again. You can email us at hello@armoroftruth.net if you got a specific a particular prayer request that you'd like for us to pray about, we'd be happy to write that down and pray for that need, because there's power in it, especially in corporate prayer when all Christians are praying together for each other's needs. That's when things get done.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So we'll try to remind you of that more often here on our show, so we can get our prayer requests going again. We still have that on our website, I think, don't we, Summer? Our prayer requests. It's there.
I don't think, no, I well, if we do, it's
well, but what we do have, and it's in the description under this video. You can leave us a voice message on our website. You can find you'll see the link, and you go there and you can click the little record thing, and you can leave us a message. You can do it with your phone or your computer or whatever, and you can leave us a voice message, and we love to get those. And if you have a prayer request, you can leave it like that. Or if you got a question or a complaint, you just want to tell us you thought we were crazy for what we presented tonight, that's just fine. We'd like to hear from you. All right. Having said all that, God bless you, my friends. We will see you again here very soon.